Hello and welcome to the MLB DFS Slate Breakdown for Friday, May 24th. We are here. We are back. We made it to the end of the week. We got a big boy 11-game slate to go over today, and there's some interesting spots. My Padres are facing the good old Yankees in San Diego, so hopefully Shannon is crying at the game at the end of the night when the Padres destroy them. But before we get into all that, come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to everything we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all, one low price for all the sports we cover. Now today, we're going to start off going by perfect lineups and winning lineups on both sites from yesterday's day slate. Then we'll get into some pitchers to consider and stacks. We'll get into it all now. All right, I'm going to try and go through the perfect lineups a little bit quicker because it's a big slate and I've been taking a little too long. All right, Lou Gil just absolutely crushed yesterday, so no surprise, he is the perfect lineup. And then we have a two-man Oakland stack with one Rocky. That game went into extra innings and just put a ton of runs late, and it was the last one on the slate, so we had a ton of lineups just shoot up the leaderboards from that game. So let's jump into the perfect lineup for FanDuel. And aim to win 83 got it done. They won 10K. Lou Gil was the pitcher, and then a 5-man Oakland stack, 3-man Yankees with a one-off McCutchen. Yankee stack, it was really Judge just going absolutely nuts and kind of pulling Verdugo along. Volpe did fine, and then Oakland just, was the name of the game yesterday. So they went nuts and got it done. On to DraftKings, we got Lou Gil, Ryan Feltner, then a 3-man Oakland stack here. Kind of interesting that Feltner made it with a 3-man Oakland stack when he was the opposing pitcher, but majority of their runs all came after he had left. So it's one of those rare situations that it was optimal to use a pitcher versus a stack offense, which is wild. I do not suggest you do that. And the winning lineup was his boo with 191. He won by 9 points. He had Wheeler. He had Lou Gil. And then he had a 5-man Oakland stack and a 3-man San Francisco stack. So there's another spot where, come to the late part of the slate, he just crushed up the leaderboards. Schumann went nuts in extra innings. And really, this Oakland stack went nuts all in extra innings pretty much. It's kind of wild. Doesn't happen that much. It definitely makes for an exciting end to a slate if you have Oakland or Colorado for that matter. Colorado did all right too, but the thing with Colorado is some of the replacements were the ones that did the work for them. Thus, they didn't get the big boost that Oakland did. All right. Now, DraftKings pitchers to consider. As always, we'll start with the high-owned guys. We got Patrick Sandoval. 7,700 is pretty interesting. He's in a tough matchup versus Oakland, though. Oakland striking out 21%. The big thing here, though, is they've been decent versus lefties here. Decent ISO. In the short term, they've been hitting lefties very hard over the last 20 games. 200 ISO, 330 WOBA. It's kind of a yin and yang with their last 150 splits versus the last 20. The ISO over the last 150, 160, WOBA, 311, nothing special. But the short term, 331 and 201 are pretty solid numbers. So if you want to go by that older, the more data, then Cleveland's not great versus lefties. If you want to go through the short term, they've been crushing lefties. So it's pretty hard to get a full tell on what Patrick Sandoval is doing. However, over his last 5 starts, 2.71 ERA, 23.8% K rate. He has been great. His StatCast data is backing it up. But he's been good over the last 20 too. 3.87 FIP with a 22% K rate. I'm definitely a little bit intrigued on Sandoval. I think he's priced a little bit too low, but I just do not like this matchup. I don't like using pitchers versus Cleveland. Cleveland just is a tough team to pitch against. They just do a lot of things well to make teams pay. But he's priced too low. Justin Verlander, he's not somebody I generally like to play too much. He hasn't been great lately. 5.55 FIP. Now that is up from 4.42 over his last 20. His K rate hasn't really been there, but Oakland strikes out a lot. So with Oakland striking out a lot, I think he is still in the you can play him range. The thing with Oakland is they hit the ball hard versus righties. 186 ISO, 325 WOBA, so they've been a decent offense. They just strike out a lot. So it's really going to come down to, is Verlander missing bats or not? And when they hit him, is it going to be hard or not? So he's allowing 28% hard contact, only 14% soft contact. So people are hitting him just not bad and not hard. Kind of an interesting spot. I don't mind having some Verlander. We've seen some upside from him this year with 8 Ks, but outside of that one outing, it hasn't been very good. He's higher owned. I don't love the spot for him. With him being higher owned, I might have to fade him a little bit, but I'm intrigued to go there for sure. Next, we got Christopher Sanchez. The issue here is it is in Colorado, and he's averaging 70% less fantasy points away. If you look at what he's done this year, at Washington, gave up 3 runs in 4 innings. At Cincinnati, they got 5 runs against him, but he was only charged for 1, only went 3 innings. In LA for Angels, gave up 4 in 5 innings. Versus the Mets, gave up 3 in 5.2 and pulled 108 pitches to get there. So my thing here is that I don't think I want to play him in Colorado when he's been so bad away as it is. I know that Colorado offense is not good, especially versus lefties. They're striking out 27.5%, low WOBA, but a high ISO. They at least hit the ball hard. The wind is slightly blowing out, very slightly, and moderate temperatures, high 60s. So the ball should carry a little bit. I would expect some runs in this game. We have an 11 game total, so it is definitely one of the higher game totals on the slate. And I don't really love going to Sanchez, and I don't mind stacking some Rockies tonight. Christian Scott. This is one that I think is kind of an interesting spot. Giants striking out a lot, low WOBA, low ISO versus righties. We've seen Scott have a little bit of upside. 6.2 innings, 6 Ks, 1 earned run, 6 innings, 8 Ks, 3 earned runs. He got lit up a little bit versus Miami, but I think he can bounce back. He's a solid prospect, 3.62 FIP, 24% K rate. Combined K rate's 23.2, 7.9 K, and moderately owned. I'm intrigued. Next, we got Corbin Burns. Corbin's obviously in the best spot of the night. He's versus the White Sox, who also just lost Eloy Jimenez. That offense that has been somehow kind of putting it together, I think is going to fall off very soon, and losing Eloy is a big part of that. He's been pitching very well lately. 2.99 FIP over his last 5, 26% K rate. StatCast data looks good. Kind of seems like he's returning into his form. 10.6K, 1.9X. I'm definitely intrigued and am shocked that he's not one of the higher owned pitchers on the slate. He very well could end up being that at the end of the day, though. Zach Gallen's next. Zach Gallen, 2.1X. He's definitely somebody that LineStar is very interested in. And Miami's offense isn't great. Striking out 21%, low WOBA. They, in 32 plate attempts, only hitting 160 versus Gallen, have a 22% strikeout rate. Gallen is a very, very good pitcher. He has solid upside. I'm definitely intrigued, not scared off by the Marlins, and the fact that it's at home definitely helps. Yu Darvish versus the Yankees. This is a really interesting spot here. Darvish just shut out the Cubs, the Dodgers, and Atlanta. Pitched extremely well against all three of them. Has a 2.36 FIP over his last 5 starts. Pitching absolutely amazing. Now he's at home versus the Yankees, who are very good versus righties. Think this is a very tough spot for him, but he has been absolutely dialed in. So I'm fine if I get a little bit, but I'm definitely not trying to pick Darvish to going against the Yankees. But with the recent form he's been in, I gotta stay there. What we have seen with Darvish in the past is when he gets in this, he usually stays there for a few starts, for a month or something like that. And the way he's pitching now, I don't want to totally get off the bandwagon. I do have to bring up the fact in 30 plate attempts, they're hitting 414 off of him now. But he has a 27% strikeout rate. So, if we look, though, that data is all pretty old. 2023, he got lit up, but that was just a bad outing. I wouldn't put much into that. So I really probably don't care about this BVP data at all. It's just one outing. He went 2.2 innings. He got lit up. That happens. I think Darvish could absolutely bounce back. The thing here is we have him at 1.x, and in this matchup, I don't think I want to push him to start getting him. The optimizer is probably really not going to give you much at 1.7. I think I'm okay with that. Next, we got Braxton Garrett versus the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are good versus lefties. 165 ISO, 350 WOBA, 19% K rate. Garrett, meanwhile, has been pitching, I think, way better than the numbers actually show. 27% K rate. StatCast data is all right. He is allowing some hard contact here, but a lot of it's ground balls. And I don't mind a little bit of Garrett. I think 5.8K is way too cheap, 2.2x. And it's a guy that we know has some upside. I mean, we saw him reach the 30s last year, high 20s to end the year. He can totally get back against the Diamondbacks, even though it is a decent offense, and especially one versus lefties. Carlos Rodon versus the Padres. This is an interesting one. Rodon has been good. He's somebody that I have really, really liked coming into the season. I have a ton of him in best ball, but I do think there's some regression coming, frankly. 4.83 FIP, 3.86 ERA over his last 5. You stretch that out to 10 starts, and it's a FIP of 5, ERA of 5. Mainly just because he didn't have a great year last year, then got injured and just didn't come back. I think he is more of the pitcher he is this year than last year. Mid-high 3s FIP type guy with a 25% K rate or so is who I think he is. Now, I think this Padre offense is going to be a little bit of a challenge with him. He's allowing 44% hard contact, ton of line drives, ton of barrel balls, which just doesn't really go that well for this Padre team. The one thing I have to say is, for whatever reason, the Padres right now cannot hit at home. And they have been struggling at home to hit the ball big time. Their splits at home and away are ridiculous. And for that reason, Rodon is still in my player pool. But I absolutely think some regression is coming his way. That regression monster is going to get him sooner or later. We've seen it happen a couple starts. Does it happen again today? Possibly. Shot 11K. All right, so I do think he is a little bit pricey, but I absolutely love this spot. He's been pitching absolutely insane. StatCast data is in his favor. 29% K rate over the short term, 28% on the season. The only thing here is the Cardinals don't strike out a lot. 21% over the last 150 games, 19% over the last 20. Combined K rate, 24%. So I do think he is a little bit too pricey. However, I think there is the upside there at 11K still. And I think his median projection, which we have at 2.3x and 25, is, the best on the slate. So I'm absolutely intrigued to go there. One last thing. I want to jump back to Corbin Burnes. I forgot to bring this up. This game, the White Sox versus Baltimore, very well could be a postponement. So we need to watch that coming into Slate Lock. If it hasn't already been PPD'd as far as what's going on there. The Cardinals versus Cubs, game which Shot is in, is also one that we need to watch. However, it's much more likely this game plays. Just weather can be weird and things can change throughout the day. Bailey Ober, Twins versus Rangers. Rangers have absolutely crushed Ober. 4 innings, 5 earned runs last time out. Only 26 plate attempts, though, so I wouldn't put a ton of stock into that. Ober's been pitching amazingly lately. 2.94 FIP over his last 5. 29% K rate, and it's not exactly the easiest, 5 games. Angels, White Sox, Mariners, Toronto, Cleveland. So Toronto, Cleveland, very solid offenses. Seattle can be a decent offense. Angels have just been pesky. White Sox suck. Meanwhile, Texas, very good versus righties. 180 ISO, 330 WOBA. I don't mind having a little bit of Ober here, but Texas very well could get to him. He's been pitching very well lately, but we also know he can get lit up. His StatCast data is not great. 42% fly balls, 35% hard contact, 35% line drives, only 12% soft contact. So I think if Texas gets to him, they could really get to him. But so I don't mind both ways there. Cutter Crawford's been great. However, at home, he's way worse. 57% or 47% less at home. Mid-threes FIP on both 20 and 5 starts. 22% combined K rate. Milwaukee offense is pretty good versus righties, though. If you want to get there, it's fine. He's just worse at home. That's the big issue there. Logan Allen, Kyle Harrison, I'm fine with going to. Don't love the spots. I want to talk about Ashcraft and Paxton here, more so because I think they are interesting stacks than I want to use them. We're in Great American Small Park, so Ashcraft versus the Dodgers. He hasn't been great. Almost a FIP of 5 in both his last 20 and his last 5. His ERA is down. Every now and then there's pitchers that just somehow hold this together, and he's done it. So his ERA is way better than his FIP, and it just keeps happening over and over again, and that's just kind of who he is. I don't know how he's getting away with it, but what comes with that is some games where he gets blown up. So I think a blow up is absolutely possible here, but he is a ground ball pitcher, and in the Great American Small Park, if you're hitting the ball on the ground, at least it isn't home runs, which is the issue with Great American Small Park. Now he is averaging 45% less fantasy points at home. White Sox got him. Texas allowed 1 home run, no earned runs. Padres got 2 runs against him. Arizona 3 runs against him. Oh, sorry, those are all away. Sorry, the home 3 runs. Angels got 5 runs. Milwaukee got 6 runs. So he's been giving up runs at home, and it's versus the Dodgers. Very scary offense. The big thing here is he tries to make those ground ball happen. But if those ground ball doesn't happen, it's usually home runs. James Paxton, on the other hand, is another guy, FIP way higher than his ERA, keeps kind of getting hit, but somehow keeps it together. But fly ball rate, 38%, hard contact rate, 30%, a lot of barreled balls. So I don't love the spot for Paxton. I think Cincinnati is pretty interesting. All right, now let's get over to FanDuel real quick here. Highest owned, Patrick Sandoval, 7.9K. That's just pretty cheap. Corbin Burns is next. Again, reminder, this game could be postponed, so all these ownerships could be way off. So you're going to want to pay attention to what ownership is later in the day when we know that, or we get updates if that game postpones. Zach Gallen looks great. I love him on FanDuel as well as Shota. If Shota is only 12% or 10%, I'm definitely going to have some of him. And then Justin Verlander, I think, is in an absolutely great spot, or a decent spot here. And at low ownership, his ability to work late into games when he's on and have some upside in the K department makes me a little intrigued. However, on paper, his just, median numbers here, average numbers don't look great and aren't that favorable. The thing is that when he's good, he's going to the 50s, and he can definitely shut out this Oakland offense, even though they've been hitting the ball well lately. Christian Scott, definitely intrigued on. Intrigued on. Darvish and Rodon. Don't love either. However, both of them are in my player pool. We have a game total of 7.5. Only a few games that low, and I'm definitely intrigued to go on with either of them. Harrison's a little too expensive for me on FanDuel, as is Cutter Crawford. I think Braxton Garrett at 7.7K is a little intriguing just due to the fact that he has huge upsides when he does. His K rate is solid, but Arizona's good. And the thing with Braxton here is FIP is just way lower than his ERA. So when he comes together, he can really make it come together. Now let's get into some stacks here. Stack attack. So we're going to start on the highest projected stacks, and then we'll get over to the highest owned. All right, so highest projected, it is no surprise. We got the Phillies versus Colorado in Colorado. I do want to bring your attention to one thing, though. So game total here is 11. Phillies are big-time favorites, but Dodgers and Cincinnati is 10.5. Everybody is going to go to this Colorado game. Dodgers, game total-wise, they're right there, but are going to be way less owned. So just want to say that off the bat, but Phillies do look great in this spot. Ty Block just isn't got great. 5.07 FIP over his last 20. 3.52, however, over his last 5. So he's been pitching much better. But splits favor Philly. Philly's in a good spot. Good offense. Can definitely get it done. Dodgers are popping up a little bit too. I like them versus Ashcraft just fine. He's way worse at home. And that Dodger offense can literally get to anybody. Now, let's check the high ownership. All right, so we got Philly popping up. We have Boston. I'm glad Boston's here. I do think they're going way too high owned, but I like this spot versus Bryce Wilson, who hasn't been good lately. 5.15 FIP over the last 5, 5 FIP over the last 20. And Boston is a good offense. Very cheap stack. Nice value. I think there's a lot to like here. Decent projection. Decent consensus projection. I do think they're going a little bit high owned, but it's really just because of that value. I mean, they have a ton of hitters that are cheap and obviously projecting decently here. So let's get into the value stacks. It appears that we will likely see a decent amount of Boston popping up on this value, seeing as 2.5x and 2.2x is popping up. Oakland may pop up a little bit too with the value stack. White Sox, reminder here is that there's weather, so we need to watch that news. Miami popping up versus Gallen a little bit. Gallen hasn't been as good this year as he was last. Milwaukee versus Cutter Crawford. Boston's pitching has been insane so far, but I think Milwaukee's an interesting one to pick on, or use to pick on. And let's check out some ceiling. Ceiling is going to be all Dodgers and all Phillies, I assume, with maybe some Cincinnati popping in. Or Texas. Oh, Yankees versus Darvish is the ceiling here. Yankees offense has been rolling. Darvish has been extremely good lately, but, I mean, he did give up 7 runs in 2.2 last time they saw him, so I guess it could happen again. I hope not, because I might be crying and not Shannon, but we'll see. I don't love picking on Darvish right now. He's pitching just too good. However, tools are saying there's definitely some intrigue with the Yankees. Oakland's popping up versus Verlander a little bit. I don't hate that. It's also a little bit of a leverage spot because Verlander is going a little higher owned, so definitely a little bit intrigued there. Let's go to the highest FIPS. James Paxton with the highest last 20 FIP on the slate. Cincinnati is one of my favorite stacks right now, I think. One, ownership is low, projections there, consensus projections are there. Salary is not that expensive. The value, is decent. And they can score in a lot of different ways. They steal bases, they can hit home runs, they do a lot. So I am definitely intrigued with Cincinnati. The one thing is Paxton has actually been one of the better pitchers on the Dodgers staff at limiting stolen bases. I think he only has 5. He's only given up like 5 over the last 20 starts, 1 over the last 5 starts. So the upside might not be there while Paxton is on the mound, but teams are stealing against the Dodgers. Will Smith isn't throwing that many guys out, and Cincinnati has multiple guys that can definitely make them pay there. So definitely intrigued to go there. Now let's click on the teams here. And highest implied total. Phillies, no surprise, with 6. Dodgers at 5.6. Boston at 5.1 against Bryce Wilson. Colorado at 5. What always happens in Colorado, or at least it happens lately, is the offense of the Rockies just goes totally overlooked. And today it's probably going to be the same. Sanchez has been way worse on the road. He's allowing 36.8% hard contact. The bullpen is just meh behind him. I think Colorado's in an interesting spot. Cincinnati, 4.9 total versus Paxton. Like that one a lot. Minnesota versus Texas. Jose Urena is not a great pitcher. 5.46 FIP, 5.2526 over the last 20. Bullpen behind him is terrible. I think Minnesota is actually a very interesting lower-owned stack, as well as Houston. They started hitting the ball. Stripling's a little boom bust. Oakland bullpen is very good, but it's more so the last couple guys. It is the setup man, the closer. They're higher leverage guys that are just absolutely insane. Their middle relievers aren't that great. And if Stripling can get out a little earlier, then it makes Houston stack look a little nice. Baltimore, this game might be postponed, but I do really, really like that stack if it ends up playing. And Cubs, Milwaukee, Mets, Arizona, Texas, I would say, are all kind of around there and could be a good stack. I don't mind Cleveland as a leverage stack versus Patrick Sandoval, too. The ERA, or the bullpen behind Sandoval is not that great. Sandoval has been great lately, but Cleveland's a little pesky. I wouldn't go crazy with that stack, but I don't mind a little bit of leverage. Now, that'll do it for us today, guys. Have a good one. We will be back next week on Tuesday. Since Monday is Memorial Day, I'm going to miss the Monday slate. But I will be back Tuesday. Have a good one, guys. Good luck. Have a great long weekend. See you later.